Hey everybody. So in this video today, we're going to go through about 20-25 stocks. I tried to cut it to 20. There were way too many that are actionable, either to the upside or downside. It's a very late volume day, but there was a lot going on out there. So we're going to just jump right into it. And as always, everything will be in alphabetical order. But let's just get right into it and start with, we're going to start with AMD. Pull this down a little bit, and I will throw the symbol up here for those that are on their mobile. I know that this is a little easier for you to read than going up here and seeing it. So this is this types of stuff that you want to see, right? These are the kinds of moves you want because they're confirmation of what we've already been talking about with the SOX, the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index, and how that's going higher. Look at how this is setting up, right? Everyone's talking about light volume days. This wasn't a light volume day, right? July 4th, I understand the weekend. I understand it's going to be a wonky week. You're going to have a lot of failed breakouts this week, but you're going to have business as usual on top of that is the best way to say it. And this is pretty clear what's going on here. You're at the fourth highest volume of the year. Now you're not back here. You're not that level, but what's interesting is you're setting up right here. So now you've broken, if you drew this the whole way back, right? And you draw it to here. But if you drew all this all the way back and then just start here and just start going through these levels on what's about to happen, well, this is the one you're at now. And now you have this level here, right? So what we could do is then we could just overlay volume by price and then see if that level matters. Well, this level, after you're through 94, you can see what matters, right? We got through that today. Look at this over here, and we'll expand this so you can see where I'm going with this. Lift this up and really get in here. Okay, once you're through this, this is all blue skies. I mean, there's nothing up there to stop us. And now you're in a situation with this. Right? So, this may be something that we put in the newsletter. Now you're in a situation with this where, let's get rid of this, where we've had this huge base and we can actually push. So when I say push, I mean that we can go higher. So some of the vernacular I have to just watch so people understand what I mean. But let's get into this and let's get rid of all these indicators and let's just look at this on the weekly. We can actually do a monthly today since the month closed. It's kind of exciting, huh? So if we go here on this and just look at this and look at what's going on, what do you have? You have a breakout. You have a monthly flag breakout. This is insane, right? That's what you have today. You have this wedge that you broke. And this is the monthly on AMD, but you could see where I'm going with this, hopefully, right? And now you have an all-time high close on the monthly, on a high tight flag on the monthly. This is setting up to go a lot higher. You have these wicks in here, and I do think you're going to get through them.
Lost.
Let me get rid of the little English guy. Hold on one second. There we go. So what you're going to see here when we get rid of this is you're going to blow right through this. That's my belief. I think we're heading into triple digits on this. So if I see follow through tomorrow, it would probably be something that I would seriously look at in engaging in again. I did play around with it a little bit today, but nothing of substantive nature. I do think it's set to go a lot higher. I mean, when you see stuff like this on the monthly, and look at this. Right? I mean, this is your monthly trend line, right? So you broke it here, bounced back, closed over it, opened below it, and now you're ready to go. So this is setting up for a much higher move, in my opinion. I would definitely keep it on your radar. It could have it could be like one of the leaders of this year. It's shaping up that way. This is CCIV. We don't really have
Market
enough
data
data to go back that far. I know everyone's really excited about this breakout, and I get it. I'm just going to tell you to be very careful during this week with stuff like this. You're going to have to really drill into these and see what kind of volume you're truly getting. This is a big move out of this, and it's a big move for a couple of reasons. The first is you completely encapsulated the red bar, right? Then not only did you encapsulate it, you got back through your wedge line, okay, and then you got through the top, all in one bar. Now let's look at what we did on volume for this. Did we do it through volume? I don't really even care about the moving averages. They're kind of irrelevant. Let's just look at volume. Yeah, you did it on a little volume, nothing crazy. I mean, what we could do with this, if we were curious about that, right, is we can always go into the hourly. So let's go into the hourly and see. So we see these spikes on the hourly, but let's overlay that with like a little relative volume, right? And see if they're, yeah, I mean, so you're 4x off the rip, right? Back here, off that break, okay? And then you're coming through, and on a day which is a light volume day across the board, you're 4x again, 3.8 we'll call it. That's what it is. So that's substantive. And it wasn't just one bar, it was 2 hours of it. So that's people wanting to buy this. So that is a clear breakout, and definitely something that can continue. And if you see that on tomorrow and you see a higher high on this, it may be actionable. It would probably take you to this level right up here, 33, 34. Let's remove the segment line for a moment. And we don't need this one right now. We'll just put it up here so we can say it. So that's where it would take you to, right? I mean, there's nothing else up here. There's nothing here. I mean, if we overlaid this with, let's get rid of some of this stuff so we can clean this up a little bit because we don't need it anymore. We'll remember. But look over this with a volume price. Like once you're into this, you're in. And if you get through 33, 34, this can just keep on going. So let's see what happens with it. But it's definitely something that is interesting to say the least, especially with the volume today at the end of the day. I kept waiting for it to fail like the rest of them, and it just didn't. It just kept getting more and more volume. So it's definitely of interest. I'm not sure what this one is, and we've definitely been looking at this before. CPSH, because I have lines on it, but I don't remember. So let's just see if we were in this before. Yeah, we did look at this before because here we are again. But I'll remove this. We'll just throw this one up here. So the question becomes, what are we trying to do with this, right? So let's throw these three in. I mean, we can throw the 5 and the 8 in, but they're going to tell us the same story. So what's the point? So the question becomes, what are we going to do now? Right? Like this is big. Okay, we're here and that's big. If you're looking at the chart, the fact that you have you flagged out, came back down, tested this level, tested these three and held it, somebody's interested, right? But you have all this nonsense that you have to get through. Like all of that you have to get through all of it. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to have to look at the volume and kind of make a determinant factor here. And we're going to have to see that the volume's not really there. So let's get rid of the volume for a minute. Let's look at volume by price. And this is really where you can start seeing an actual pattern possibly develop, right? So let's look at what today represented. Let's pull this back and let's open this up even more and just focus on this. So what today represented was something that has not happened since we really broke down over here, right? We have not had one definitive bar that has gotten through this point of control. So for those that don't use volume by price, point of control is where the largest concentration of stock is located at. Not the average price, that's your VWAP right here, but this is where the largest concentration is. That's the best way to explain it. And it's a very important level. I would argue that point of control is more interesting to me than volume by price VWAP is, because I want to know where the majority is and that's where we're at. Not the average price of it all, but just where's the majority. Because when you get through that, it's cleared up all those people. So all those people that were in these levels, they're all cleared up, is what essentially it's telling you. So, everyone knows that I'm not a big fan of staying in the little ones, but this one I get, and I understand why people are staying in it. It does make sense to me. So I'm sorry about that for a second. I thought I had the phone off. So it does make sense to me why people are interested in this. So if you see follow through on it and you want to give it a try, you can. I mean, this is your point right here. You're down to this level right here. This is your VWAP, which would take you to 12. It can happen. This could move again tomorrow. So especially when you flip that the higher high, it can get to that 1250, and it can do it fairly quickly too. So just keep that in mind. CRCT, I just want to cover. We went through these today in the community, but just to reiterate, so you're seeing a lot of failed breakouts, and this is what happens during these kinds of weeks when you have late volume. These stocks are much easier to manipulate. But this was a tell where I thought we could flip. I actually bought this and then just simply blew it out. I think I took a point loss on it actually. So what I did here was when we got through this, I'm like, man, we could go. And so I just kind of started marking off where I thought we could get to. And, we got up there for a little bit and then we just didn't hold. And then I gave it a little room and that was the end of it. But really all we did was fall right back into the flag, right? I mean, that's all we did. But now you have this wick and now you can see that it's respecting this line. So we have more data now, don't we? Right? So we can get rid of this line. So we have more data now. So now that we have more data, we know this is going to be respected. And because we know that that's going to be respected, it's something for us to look forward to. Meaning, why would we enter if we already know that we're going to reject at this level, right? It doesn't make sense anymore. We know we're going to respect this. We have to go on the fact that it's telling us, CRCT is telling us that this is what it's going to do. So we have to kind of respect that. So I would just avoid that one for now. And that's why I have that one on there, because I know people are going to look at it for a breakout. This one's going to go really fast. I know people from the newsletter and other people are concerned or interested in this. All I see is a stock that keeps riding the top of this. And I've got doubles up here, so we can get rid of one of them. But all I see is a line that just keeps riding. That's all we keep doing is riding this level. I'm not concerned. My plan is in place with this, and I'm going to stick with my plan. I like the trade, and I think it could work. We're in this in the newsletter from 254 with a 242 stop. I'm going to hang in there. I'm trying to stay in this trade just so people understand my position on this. I'm not looking to day trade this. I think you're going to see a massive secular change, and it's going to take some time, and it doesn't mean it's going to happen daily. So for those that follow along in either the free newsletter or with the community, I think months. I'm looking at this for months. I'm not looking at this for Wednesday, Thursday. I'm not looking for that kind of trade. Pretty obvious. If you're looking for that kind of trade, you're just bouncing around in the flag. Buy this, sell it, sell it here, and then if it breaks the low of this, get out of it for a stop. You could argue that you could be buying this all day long off of this line, and just as long as you don't close below it, you're okay. And if you close below it, just get out if you're concerned. But I'm going to honor the process with it, and I like the trade still. I have no volume up here except this. So, and the volume is just falling off a cliff. No one's paying attention to software right now. It was completely out of favor today. So, edit, I just want to show a couple things. So, this had a huge move up today and then failed. But what you saw today is very interesting, and I'm going to leave the volume by price up there. This volume is absolutely insane and through the roof, right? Just crazy volume, right? 44 to 56, and we just kept rocketing. But here's what's interesting about this. That was off the point of control line, right? And a support line. But let me just throw this in for a minute. So hold on one second. There we go. Put that back in there. And I'm going to throw this in, the 8. So what you're seeing is this massive, massive volume and massive push. Now, how do these end when this stock does that? Well, here's an example of what happens. They usually come back down. But that's a different situation. It's very similar, more similar to this one, right? And why do I say that? Because you opened at the low and you closed at the high. You didn't do that here, right? So you have to not only look at the volume, but you also have to look at what the bar is telling you. And what it did was this whole gap in here, see this whole vacuum of volume is gone? What did it do? It just sucked it all up and just ran. And now you're going to run into some stuff up here, 59, 63. If you get through that, this is gonna really keep moving. And with this kind of volume, maybe it does get through that. But you're gonna have to watch this. There's a lot of volume in there, and that's really far off. That's like back here. So these people have been waiting forever for their opportunity to get out of it. So you might see selling there. So you're gonna have to watch it. But I just want to walk through this one very quickly because there was someone that missed it and then was asking me how to get back into it. So just understand that you can look at these and you can just set up little levels on them. So for me, this was, I'm going to just show you so that this is one thing that anyone can do. See that flag right here? Here, let's just draw it here. You can actually argue the flag's up here, and this is still part of the flagpole. But see how we're hitting here? Bonk, 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 right? And then we can't close below this level I just drew, except here. So I'm saying that these two are essentially the flagpole. So what you can see with that, or you can even call these three, it's fine either way. But the point that I'm getting at is you can see where the low of that flagpole is, and you can see where the high of the flagpole is. Well, you have a 5-point range. So do I really want to buy it when it breaks through here, knowing that 59 is it going to be an issue? Well, no, you don't want to be chasing edit then. So what this did was it set us up right here, right? So we knew if we got above that, we knew we had a shot. So, but what did we have to get above? We had to get above that little wick. And I think we said 55.5, 55.75 is what I really wanted to look for. And then it gave us this little Morningstar pattern right there, right? We have a little hammer, flipped it, and that was it. And we went. And the other thing you could overlay with this, just to kind of give you an understanding of where you're at, let's get rid of these very quickly. And we'll just throw VWAP in. So, and you see how it respected VWAP? So, and looking at VWAP is more important on a 15-minute and an hourly chart, in my opinion, because it tells you that, like, the feel of the stock for the day, more so than looking at it on a daily. But see, broke it once, that was enough, came back, and then you just rode it up. And I think we're even up after hours now. Yeah, you're up another $1. So I mean, I think it looks good, and I think it could continue, but that was my way of getting in that. ENPH, I mean, I know people have done exceptionally well with this over time. You know, there were a couple people a couple weeks ago that were getting in this at 146, and they've just absolutely crushed it. And they should be able to just walk this trade the whole way up. And I understand their concern now. I would just point out one thing, that your volume shelf starts back up here, and this seems to be where we're starting to run into an issue, right? So just consider that. And the other part that I would point out is here, 186.77. This is a clear resistance point, and we have clearly rejected it. So I would just argue that you might not want to be, definitely don't want to be adding to this. And if you're looking shorter term, you might want to get out. And what I would do is just a very simple thing, because you have some uncertainty here, don't we? Right? And how do we know that we have uncertainty? We have uncertainty because we have these dojis. Like, you have a doji where you're here, look. See this bar? When you have a bar like that where you're open and closing on the same day like these, it just means we don't know what we're going to do, right? So I have a long wick here, which is price rejection, and a wick here, which is price rejection. For those that haven't watched the candlestick video yet that explains all this and the patterns, I'd recommend that you watch it, and I'll link it in the back. So if I took out this low, I think you need to get out of it. I think it's telling you exactly what it's going to do. If I flip this, then you could push and try one more time. And then if you failed again, you can just close it again. But then you should be able to use this level right here, this 182, 181.75 is pretty much a drop dead level, is how I would view it. So statistically, we've been looking at this, but statistically, I really don't have 30 days, right? I kind of do, but not really. So what we're going to do is just drill into an hourly on this and look at it this way. And the reason for that is because I want more data, right? I don't want just 30 points. Yeah, it's been around for a month, but let's get rid of this. And we'll get rid of all these indicators for a minute. And we're going to get rid of everything and start all over again. And this is FIGS. F-I-G-S. And we're going to click right on this. Okay. So let's just talk about what's going on here. Right? So you should be able to see You have this little line that just keeps going up and we just keep bumping our head on it. And you have the little trend line right here too, right? So we're kind of getting wedged in there. I mean, something's going to happen. Keep knocking on that door. Eventually we're going to break it, right? So that's what we're shooting for. But where would we go? Where would that channel be? Well, there's a couple really interesting things going on here, right? So this is pretty neat. How we broke here and then look how we flipped that channel and what happened. It went parabolic, even on the hourly, right? So here was your channel, and you could probably draw this back a little bit further, even down to here. So you flip it, and then you come back down to it. And now the angle of the channel changes. So this is the older angle. We went parabolic. We started a new channel. This new channel, the trajectory is higher than this one. You see that? See how this line's like a 45, and let's call this a 60. So when you start seeing things like that, it's a clear sign that you're probably going higher, okay? And now here's another one. Oop. Let's click that back. There we go. Okay. So that was interesting. I don't know how I did that. Maybe I could do that next time and make the screen bigger. So always learning something new. But anyway, I digress. So what you need to do is you need to flip this level and go higher. Where's that at? All that's left is this. All that's left is that little wick. Is there any real value in that little wick? Let's take a look. Let's do a volume by price and see what's going on there. Yeah, there's some volume there, but nothing crazy. So, I mean, to me, this is setting up. This is setting up to go higher. So I like this trade. I understand why people are looking at it. And I think it could push here. And that's all I have is this wick. And look at the bar today. You know, some people will say, oh, it's not a bullish engulfing because it didn't take over the whole bar. I don't really care. I would rather it encompass the body of the bar more so than the whole bar. Because what that's telling me is, and that's what it's done here, right? So this was price rejection, and this was all still, right? We opened and sold, and now look what we've done. We've opened and bought. Well, it's a completely different story, and we did it on more volume. So I would argue that breaking that 50.44 level is actionable. FSLY was just such a disappointment today, and we're going to go over it. You know, you started to break out here, and then you just came all the way back down, and I just want to address it. So I'm not sure that this is over, but we're going to see. We're going to have to give it, tomorrow. And if you start seeing it just trade around, that's okay. But what got me about it was it really doesn't have far to fall, right? Unless news is going to come out that's negative, we're right on this base. So, and we just filled this gap. So maybe the first time it doesn't go. It doesn't mean that the second or third time it's not going to go, right? But when you start seeing this volume come in like today and push, to me, that means that you have something that you have to take a look at. And I'm not sure that this is done. Now, this bar is certainly pointing out that there's uncertainty out there, but we don't know what that's stating. We don't know what that's really telling us. So we have to see. We have to sit, watch, and wait. And I just wanted to point this out because I know this was very disappointing today for a lot of people. But software took a hit today anyway because it had a huge run up. So it is what it is, and let's just see how we play out from there. But I like the name still, and the chart does look busted. But let's see what tomorrow brings. So Globe, I just wanted to do this one very quickly. This was one from the top 10 list that we did a little bit ago. And let me just throw this in here for those that are on their mobile. You're riding this line. I don't really like the long red bar. I certainly don't like all that selling. I certainly don't like the open being the high and the low being the close. Like that's not, making me warm and fuzzy to jump in this one. I would just hold off and see what it does and make sure that we hold the 52.90 level. You might break this. When you have that kind of magnitude move down, it probably even messed with the RSI just by looking at it, just the magnitude of it. And we can see, yeah. So it screwed with your RSI. See how it broke right here, right? So we're not even there yet, and this is already pointing down. And you're breaking that 70. Well, we can talk about that at another time. But, I did an RSI video that I'll try and link as well with the candlestick one. But I have to figure that out. But that's a negative divergence. So I would, and you can, after you read charts for a long time, you can start seeing where you possibly could have a negative divergence based upon the magnitude of the move. So there's one there. I would just avoid it. And that's why I wanted to show it. There's better stuff out there. There's real stuff out there to make money off of. There's a lot of trades that are working right now. So this is HAYW, and if you have been following along with the top 10 list, you might want to take a look at this. A couple of those on the top 10 list absolutely killed it. I would say that I'll try to link that top 10 list to this as well so that you can watch that after. I don't know how many videos I can actually link at the end, but I think I'm going to link the top 10 one for sure, because I do think you need to start following that list. We do fairly well with it. If you just, if you have a process and know how to play them. But look, you're breaking today. You have above average volume. This broke. This set up. Okay. This is a very simple trade. It's not that complicated. With a trade like this, all you're looking for it to do is not take out that low now. That's all you're looking for. You're looking for this to not take out 25.32. That's all you're looking for, right? So I don't even need to wait for this to go any higher. I could come in tomorrow if I was willing to take the risk and say whether I buy it here or I buy it off the open. It's completely irrelevant as long as you understand and quantify your risk, right? We could talk triggers and why people might want to wait for a trigger. It's a completely different conversation. All I'm saying is that at this level, if you're willing to take that risk of $1, this is actionable. But understand that if you cut below this, you're going to go to the 21-day, and why do you want to stay in it? You don't. So HIBB was one of those top 10 this week. It's doing exactly what we thought it would do. It broke the wedge. And you see, this is what we talk about all the time, right? See how you are right here and then you pork your little wick out? And what happened? First time, didn't go, right? First mouse gets the cheese. What happens to the second mouse? The first mouse gets the trap, second mouse gets the cheese. I need more coffee. So what you need to see here is you can see like this open is the low, close is the high. I've got above average volume. Where's this going? Right? I mean, there's no guarantees, but it's setting up to go higher. If you break this level, if you break this wedge, you get out. It's over. It didn't work. These kinds of trades on those top 10s are that simple. So what do you do now? I don't know that I would chase this. Congratulations to those that did it. And I just want to talk about this. You probably have 4 or 5 points there. But you probably have 4 or 5 days there, but you really have to take a look at it and see what happens. But overall, I really like the move. I think it's solid, but I don't know that I chase it here. I'd sit, watch, and wait. There's too many other movers that we've just gone over for me to try and get that 5 points. So let's just keep going here. So LE, this is another one that was in that top 10 list. And I'll link that at the bottom. The more I'm thinking about, the more I think I need to link it. So you see how you're coming across here, right? And now you're breaking out. Okay. Look at this volume. I mean, this is exactly the type of stuff you need to look for, right? 5x volume. Now, what's interesting about this is how would you have played this earlier? How could you have gotten in this earlier instead of waiting for this move? Look at this volume coming in all day long. This is all day. Pops all day long. So you can see the break right here. Right? And that was it. Never looked back. So that's how you could look at for these to try to get in them even earlier by looking at shorter time frame charts. And what do you do now with it? I just wanted to go over this for people that did get involved with it. What you do now is you just let it go. I mean, there's really very little to do. You know, if you wanted to move this up, you can move this to here and use that as your stop. Now, I mean, you really shouldn't break below that. What is that? 39.79. Is that what they have us at? 39.79, 39.80. So you really shouldn't break below that level. The other thing I would point out is now this this is LA. I'll put this down here, and we can get rid of this. We don't need this. Right now, that's in play. I have got this deep cup, tested the 200-day, rode the 21. This is in play, and you could get up to here. So if you're in this, I would argue that a close below this 39.80 we need a rest before we attempt it. Breaking below this level clearly means the trade's over, but you might want to hang out here a little bit if you're in this one and just see if we get a higher high tomorrow, and if this stock just gets a little more love and pushes through. It just seems like it's going to do that. LSPD, a lot of people just throwing in the towel. I don't, that's fine. You have to honor your positions. You have to honor your process. I would just argue, let's get rid of all this. I would just argue that I don't know what we've seen that would make me think that it's over, right? You have a nasty bar today where you're looking at it and going, all right, well, that's not a great bar. That's a gravestone, right? So a gravestone bar is where you open at the low and then close at the low, and you pretty much have one there, right? And they usually mean the trend is over. But you need confirmation of that. You need to break that tomorrow. So I would have given this another day. And here's why. There's my breakout. I've never gotten through that level. So do I really want to try and buy this back, or just stay in it and just see if it holds and see if the trade's done? And that's how you have to, I shouldn't say have to. It's just one other way to think, right? Like, do I really want to go through this again, or do I just stay in it? Now, you could argue that turning here and breaking this led to this, and that's okay. But I would argue that this is something that you're going to want to, possibly stay in for a longer period of time. I really like this trade, and I think that this could continue to go. But you're going to have to watch and see what happens. Now, I think you could just be basing here, but you're going to have to make that decision for yourself. So this is a really good example of one where we're going to zoom in on this and talk about it for a minute. So let me throw this up here, and let's draw this here, and there we go. And now we're going to leave this here. So we're going to talk about this for a moment and what's going on here, and why this one's somewhat important to understand. So this is one where people were going, oh, here's your line, and then we broke it, and we did a trade, and the trade didn't work, and then it went back the second time, right? So what happens? First mouse gets the trap, second mouse gets the cheese. So if you didn't do the trade, if you did the trade here and then didn't do it when it broke through it again, I would argue that you need to look at your process and understand your process a little bit better. Meaning, just because you got stopped out doesn't mean that it's not going to go. It just means that you were good and honored your process, right? It doesn't mean that the trade's over. It means that trade's over. It doesn't mean that it's not going to keep going up. It just means it's not going to go up right now. And this was a great example of that. Now, see how we have this line here? See how you have this long wick down and then it didn't break it, right? It's very similar to what we just looked at with light speed. And now look at how you're riding up the whole time. And you had this wick down that made you think that it was over, but it wasn't over, right? It was just them trying to shake us out. And they try, and I say them, but the market makers and other institutions play games with retail. We all know it. I mean, they do it, and that's what's happening there. And you see it with the algos and everybody else. So it is what it is. The thing is to understand it, recognize it, and figure out how you're going to benefit from it, right? Not to pretend that it doesn't exist. So what my point of this is, first point is when you see something break, don't hesitate to get back in the second time, right? The other thing is honor these levels. Like if you break this level and you don't want to wait for the close, don't wait for the close, but consider this level and what the magnitude of what that level is. And that was kind of my point with light speed. I think it closed at 83.61 and I think you're up $1 after hours. So that's my point with it. NIO, I just really wanted to cover. I mean, this is exactly what you've been looking for with it. We've been talking about this level for some time. For those that want to play this one, 50.42 was the level we talked about getting through. And look at what it did today. It opened right at the low and then just ran all day, $3. So congratulations to those that played it. I guarantee if you overlay this, you're going to see a little bit up here, but not much more, right? So once I get up to this level, 56, that should be pretty easy. And you're through all this. I mean, you're through. Like, this can keep going. This might be why we saw CCIV go, people looking for the other names. But this is, you've gotten through every level now. You're through, like you're where you need to be for this to come up, base, come back down, and like be a monster again. And look at the volume that's coming in. It's exactly what you want to say. So congratulations to those that are in this one. It's clearly gotten above that level, and that's why it's so important to put alerts in and understand where your levels are, because this one opened and you probably could have done it off of what? Probably could have done this trade off a 1 minute bar, right? Yeah. I mean, there's your bar. Boom. There's your line. There's your bar. Runs up, comes back down, tests. I mean, you literally could have bought it and then just used the open as the low, or just used this line as the low and been in this trade for, what, $1 of risk. So, and now you're up in it. So, but, do you chase it now? I would see if it comes back down, but if I take a higher high out tomorrow, I don't think it's going to look back. I think if you take that higher high out tomorrow, that's it. It's going to just go. It's at least going to get up to here, 57 and a half. So, OLO, I got so many requests for this one. I just wanted to do it because there was literally so many requests. I get about a couple hundred requests for stocks. As always, subscribe to the channel and click the notifications, because what we go over is timely, and we do live shows in the morning too. And really the only way to know that is to be notified of them is to click the notifications button. And I think you have to be subscribed to do that. Anyway, you see this range right here? Okay, let's just get rid of these for a moment, right? I mean, we all see that, right? It's like glaring. Is this anything great what it did today? No, it just ran me into resistance. What else is resistance? The 21-day. Now, I do like how all this volume is gone, right? So we have a vacuum. So what I would argue is if you really, truly want to be in this one, flip the 21-day. Go from there. This is a good example of where to look at your 8 and even your 5, so we can get more data points. And we can see that. See how they crossed here and how they're crossing here to go up. So I kind of like this, but I need to get over that level. So we're going to go over more than 20 tonight, it looks like. And there's some real lessons in here for those that are following along. I think there are anyway. But so here's pins. This was one that we were in the newsletter at 69 3/4 with a 78 target, and I raised the target up to 84 and the stop 75. So the question is, what do we do now with it, right? Well, the question is, why are we still sitting here? Why aren't we pushing through? Is it just light volume? I know people are excited by it, but I don't like bars like this. Like, I just don't like wick after wick. I'd rather you sell down and then shake them out, right? Now, we are closing higher and we are grinding higher, and maybe there's more here that I have to get through than I'm thinking about, but I didn't remember there being that much, right? Like, there's not much more up here. So that means that I'm still respecting this line, and I haven't made a decision yet, even though I'm over it a little bit, right? Because realistically, with this little vacuum in here, we should be heading to this level fairly quickly, and we're not. So I would give me pause and caution. And you could see we're riding the 5 and the 8, but that's fine. It's not a big deal. But would I buy this here? No. I need to push through this level. And you have to realize that then you're going to be dealing with 84. If I was in this, I would hold it. And then if I broke these two wicks, maybe by next week we might, or by next newsletter, we might be moving that stop up. So other than that, I like staying in the trade, but I would not be adding to it now. So this is one I was just playing with all day today. This one was actually a lot of fun. So let's get rid of this. But you could just have look, let's get rid of all this stuff because we really don't need it. And we'll just clean it up. We really don't need we can see the volume and how it was through the roof, right? We can leave that. But POWW, I mean, here's the thing about it. This is exactly what you wanted to see. You wanted to see it break above here, but we didn't close above here. And you just had great news, great event. And now I've got that kind of wick. I mean, I would like to have seen a close above this. This to me is I'm kind of toppy and I might base here for a while and I might come back down. Like in other words, people thinking, what's the next impetus? So if I'd be cautious here. Maybe these guns are running out of steam finally. I don't know, but or the ammo guy too. But you know, I would be careful here. I would not be rushing into it. But this was a fairly easy one to trade today, and you know, all you had to do to me was here. We can get rid of all these. So, and that's what I'm saying. Like, use a 15-day on for your VWAP. So, like, if you missed the rip over here, you had another shot here. You exploded up, right? You failed here. You bounced off it again. So when you start seeing them be respected like this, you can use them as support and resistance lines and just set your stops below them, right? When you start seeing it, and you just look for patterns and you identify the pattern and then you just trade the pattern out, right? You don't look for much, but you could do it all day long. It was a fairly easy one to trade. So, but for now, I would hold off on it. Let's go to this and let's get rid of these, and we can throw this in and this in and this in. So, you know, to me, people are like, oh, it's broken. This is PubM. And let me put that in there for everybody. If you could do me a favor and please hit the like button. I'm trying to get in front of as many people as possible to show them what it takes to truly be successful at trading. I do appreciate it. It started as like a mission, and I'm starting to really get into it, frankly. So, but look at this. All right, let's get rid of these. This isn't over. I just hit resistance, but I don't think it's over, right? Like I still have this, look, I still have this flag right here. So it's not over. It's just didn't go this time. What happens the first time? First mouse gets what? Gets the trap. Second mouse gets the cheese. Probably the second time we go through this, it probably goes. So we just have to be set up for that to happen. Doesn't mean you buy it now going, oh, the second mouse gets the cheese. No, you need the setup. So we're going to have to keep our eye on it. But I don't think this is over. I really don't. RASS, I wanted to go over because I got a ton of requests for it. I don't get it. I mean, you were up here and now you're an $8 stock. I'm not really sure what's so exciting about it. But I wanted to cover it because I did get, like, when I get a lot of requests like this, it usually means I have a bunch of people that are either on Twitter or one of the other sites that are just, you know, in this and they're buried. So, I mean, there's your levels. Can't be any clearer. And this is not something that great, you have good volume. Again, this thing's been going down all year. It's not going to stop going down because you bought it, right? Maybe there's a trade out of it, but I'd be very careful here. I just see a bear flag that's trying to form, and maybe you get to this 933, but if you got through that 933, I'd be amazed. There's got to be so much stuff going on in here that it's not worth it. So I would just move on. This is Shack, and I thought I would have a name in here as many times as I look at it. Shake Shack, but apparently I don't. So here's what I like about this name, right? It's definitely one of those, like, that was a huge mover in the beginning when it first went public, and now it's kind of settled in, right? But you still have this channel right here, and you're still above these moving averages, and they're crossing, and this is a flag. So I would say that you could see this make another attempt at this level and fill this wick in at 111. I mean, you really don't even have to wait if you're trying to see if you're going to get back up here to then push to that 120 level. You could actually buy it and then just use the valley, this low 103.79 as a stop, right? Because if I broke the low of this flag, realistically, I'm going to 102. So I really don't want to hang out for that, right? I want to be in as cheap as possible. So I'd make the argument that you could actually buy on a higher high here, see if you test this level. If we don't and it comes back down, just get out. But you're going to need momentum behind you. And right now you have zero, right? I mean, like you're supposed to be at roughly, a million, and we're coming in at 300,000. So that just tells you that no one's paying attention to this right now. And maybe they don't until the holiday's over. SOFI. I just want to throw this in here very quickly because I know of people that are looking at it. This is doing everything to tell you to avoid it, right? So we opened up here, we overgapped after we looked like we were going to stop here and had that pattern. We overgapped up here, filled the gap, tried to look like we were going to rally, came all the way down to the 50-day. Today, can't even stay up in this bar without more selling. And now we're sitting right on the 50-day again. So to me, we're setting up to break. I would avoid this. So, and that's why I have it in here. So this is one you're definitely going to want to keep on your radar tomorrow for sure. This just played out perfectly today. So, and it just set us up perfectly. So you buy yesterday, you think that maybe it's going to bounce. It doesn't. It fills the gap. And then you come down to here, right? But look where you really came down. You basically filled the gap. I mean, what are you off by? Right? 41. Yeah, you're still off by about $2, $1.50. So let's see, 41.50. What are we off by? 42.90. Yeah, I mean, you're off by $1.50. So the question really becomes, is there something else that we could look at that would have made it stop here? And there really isn't. I mean, you could make an argument that you have this here, right? Because you can see this gap over here on space. I can drop this over here, right? So you can see the gap here is this gap here. So, but you're still at the same line. So it's not really giving me new data. But this is setting us up for a Morningstar pattern. You have a wedge here after this break, which is exactly what you want to see because that takes you to here as a target. And now I have this little, kind of like a doji, isn't it? You got a little wick here, I got a little wick here. So setting up, get over this tomorrow, 48. And you could go again. This could set up to go. Some people are going to even look at this close because the close is so fascinating to me because look where the close is. That's the dotted line, right? Look at it. It just happened to close right at the lows of that bar. So that's telling you that there's some people in there that are watching that level. There's definitely people at that level. I mean, you have 3 bars sitting on it since it broke out. TKR, I got a lot of requests for this one too, probably on the volume spike. The only thing I would say, and the only reason I wanted to cover this one was 1, the volume spike today, but 2, you have a bullish engulfing pattern right here. And this is TKR. This bullish engulfing pattern could take you up to this 21-day, but other than that, I think you have a long way to go before you start pushing through here. So I would watch this. TTD, this is one that we're in. I don't see anything wrong with it. Did I want it to go up today? Of course. Did it go up? No. But I'm in there. I've done nothing with it. I'm just sitting with it. I think that we're going to eventually just kind of start grinding sideways and then just start going up. Again, from when I recommended this one, just so we're all clear, this is how I see it. And I'm pretty clear that I was stating that I'm looking out for months. I'm not looking out for what it's doing on Wednesday. Obviously, you have to monitor them, but I don't see anything here that's telling me that I have to be concerned. Nothing. So UPST, I just wanted to review this. Look, this is why you leave your levels. Okay, 134.82. Where'd we get to? 134.50. Where'd we get to today? 134.32. Right? There is nothing to do here. If you're looking long-term at owning this stock, you cannot really buy it until you close above 134.82, right? That's your key level. Other than that, you buy it off of this, you buy it off this 119 level, right? And then when it breaks, if it closes below there, you get out of it. Otherwise, you can just trade it. I mean, literally, all you're doing is buying at this level and just waiting for it to get to 134 and selling it. It's happened 3 times now, right? 1, 2, 3. We did this trade. So, I don't know what else to tell you. Like, I understand people want it to go, but it's clearly telling you And you can see, like, look, I mean, if you really want to get into it, and you really want to get into how far back this level goes all the way right back. Hold on. It's not where I'm going with this. Hold on. That's where I'm going with it. This level goes all the way back here, right? So where you had issues with it, and then how it flips. Look at it here. So look at it here. I mean, you can see this. I mean, it's not drawn perfectly, but you can kind of get an understanding of where I'm going with this, right? Hopefully. Oh, that went too high. Hold on one second. Let's get down to right there. So you can kind of see where I'm going with this. Bonk, 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 right? Here it was support. Support flips to what? Resistance. That's what happened there. Resistance, right? Support, support, resistance. Flips. So keep that in mind, something to consider. That's it. Any questions, reach out, let me know, and comment, and let me know what you like the most. And I know this one was a little long tonight, but I think it was relevant. There was a lot of good stocks to go over.